Dear fellow readers, welcome back to my channel. In case you're new here, my name is Laura and I'm a PhD student of Comparative Literature in Germany. And on my channel I make videos on literary theory and literary classics. As Christmas is just around the corner, you might be looking for the right read to pick in the holiday season. And I was thinking about A Christmas Carol, one of the most famous Christmas stories by none other than Charles Dickens. But what if we look at this story from another angle today? Charles Dickens is celebrated as the voice of Victorian London, who was weaving tales of social reform and human resilience. But there is another layer to his storytelling, one that lurks in the shadows of his most famous works. A Christmas Carol is a beloved holiday classic, but it is filled with ghosts, unsettling visions and haunting exploration of morality and redemption at the same time. So what is truly going on beneath the surface of this story? Could this heartwarming tale of Scrooge's transformation from bad to good actually be a Gothic masterpiece in disguise? Let us dive into the eerie atmosphere, supernatural encounters and the darker side of Dickens to uncover whether he is more Gothic than we ever imagined. So grab your favorite tea, settle into your armchair or sofa and let us step into the shadowy, mysterious world of Dickens' imagination in The Christmas Carol. Who was Charles Dickens? He was born on February 7 in 1812 in Portsmouth, England, and is one of the most iconic figures of English literature today. Living during the Victorian era, Dickens captured the complexities of a rapidly industrializing society and revealed the struggles of the poor and working class. But Dickens' success didn't come easily to him, as his father's imprisonment for debt forced young Charles to leave school at 12 and work in a grim factory. This painful chapter of his life profoundly shaped his writing, particularly his concern for social justice. Dickens' literary career began as a journalist, reporting on parliamentary debates and court cases. His observational skill, combined with his knack for storytelling, helped him create some of the most enduring novels in English literature. From the serialized success of the Pickwick Papers to classics like Oliver Twist and Great Expectations, Dickens became a household name. His stories tackled major societal issues such as child labor, poverty and corruption, often with unforgettable characters and vivid settings. Yet Dickens wasn't just a social realist. He had a fascination with the eerie and supernatural, which is why so many of his works, like The Signalman or A Christmas Carol, dip into Gothic territory. Whether entertaining crowds with public readings or advocating for social reform, Dickens' imagination and energy seem to be boundless. His ability to blend genres, social realism, comedy, tragedy and the supernatural, is one of the reasons his works still resonate today. This unique versatility makes the question, was Dickens a Gothic author, all the more intriguing. Let us quickly summarize what characterizes Gothic literature in a few elements. Gothic literature is a genre that thrives on the eerie and the uncanny. And the key elements that define it are the following. Firstly, you often have a dark and mysterious setting, as Gothic stories often take place in old castles, graveyards or foggy, desolate streets. The setting itself becomes a character and is steeped in mystery and dread. Secondly, supernatural phenomena often occur in Gothic stories. Ghosts, spectres, curses and unexplainable occurrences are central to the Gothic atmosphere. Thirdly, there is oftentimes an emotionally charged atmosphere. Gothic fiction explores the full range of human emotions: fear, melancholy, passion and sometimes even madness. Fourth, themes of isolation and madness. Characters often grapple with loneliness or are haunted by their past, sometimes to the brink of insanity. And fifth, the sublime. The Gothic frequently evokes a sense of awe mixed with terror, often through descriptions of nature or grand decaying structures. Keep these elements in mind as we dive into A Christmas Carol. You will be surprised by how many of them appear in Dickens' timeless tale. Let us now quickly summarize A Christmas Carol for those of you who don't know the story yet. It was published in 1843 and tells the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, a miserly old man who despises Christmas. On Christmas Eve, Scrooge is visited by 4 ghosts: his deceased business partner, Jacob Marley, and the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Each ghost forces Scrooge to confront painful truth: the loneliness of his youth, the suffering he has caused others, and the bleak future that awaits him if he doesn't change. By morning, Scrooge is transformed, embracing kindness and the spirit of Christmas. It is a tale of redemption, but beneath its hopeful message lies a story filled with Gothic tension and supernatural encounters. So let us now break down the Gothic elements in A Christmas Carol as an example of Dickens as a Gothic author. First, there are obviously the ghosts. The ghosts are central to the story. Jacob Marley's spectral appearance, bound by chains, is both terrifying and symbolic of his earthly sins. The silent ghost of Christmas yet to come evokes pure Gothic dread. And also the other 2 ghosts of Christmas past and Christmas present evoke a sense of dread and make for this eerie atmosphere that this whole night that is told in the story evokes. Secondly, there's also a dark atmosphere that you can find in the cold and foggy streets of London, to the eerie silence and darkness of Scrooge's house, and also in the whole night that is told in the story. Dickens creates a setting that feels almost haunted. Thirdly, the themes of isolation and redemption. Scrooge is a classic Gothic protagonist in the way that he is isolated, bitter, and haunted by his past. And his journey mirrors the Gothic theme of confronting the inner demons. And there's also this scene when the ghost of Jacob Marley appears and he fears that he's growing mad now, which he obviously isn't, but this is also a play with these Gothic elements, I think. Then you also have the sublime and supernatural elements, such as the flickering form of the ghost of Christmas past and the towering presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come, who evoke awe and terror in Ebenezer Scrooge as hallmarks of this Gothic sublime. Then you also have a moral allegory in the text, which is also not unlikely for Gothic tales, as the story uses these supernatural elements to explore themes of guilt, morality, and transformation, and eventually lead to Scrooge's redemption. But let us also quickly take the time to look at a few other examples of Dickens' writing to see if he's a Gothic author or not. While A Christmas Carol is Dickens' most famous ghost story, it is far from his only foray into the eerie and the Gothic. Let me share a few more examples where Dickens explored similar themes, blending the macabre with the social commentary and the emotional depth that is usual for his characters. Firstly, there's Bleak House from 1852 to 53. In Bleak House, which is one of Dickens' longest and most intricate novels, the Gothic atmosphere is palpable in the decaying mansions of Chesney Wold. Chesney Wold, home to the aristocratic Dedlock family, is a cold, dreary and isolated estate. The mansion itself feels like a living presence, a common Gothic trope, emphasizing themes of decay and stagnation. The Dedlock's family secret haunts the space, and Lady Dedlock, the tragic central figure, is herself a Gothic heroine. She is tormented by guilt, secrecy, and societal pressure, which ultimately leads to her tragic downfall. The weather in the novel is also deeply Gothic. Fog and rain are ever present, creating a gloomy, oppressive atmosphere that mirrors the emotional turmoil of the characters. These elements of foreboding, secrecy, and doom tie Bleak House firmly to the Gothic tradition, and Bleak House is oftentimes considered one of the most Gothic novels of Dickens. Secondly, there's Great Expectations from 1861, another classic example of Dickens' Gothic flair. The story follows Pip, an orphan who rises in social status after receiving a mysterious fortune. But at its heart, Great Expectations is filled with Gothic imagery and themes of decay, isolation, and unfulfilled dreams. The most memorable Gothic figure is Miss Havisham. She is a wealthy, jilted bride who stops time after being abandoned at the altar. She remains in her crumbling mansion, Satis House, still wearing her tattered wedding dress. The wedding feast she prepared decades ago has rotted, covered in cobwebs and dust, a vivid symbol of her emotional and psychological decay. Miss Havisham is like a ghost, trapped in the ruins of her past, consumed by bitterness and revenge. Her home, Satis House, becomes a Gothic setting as its dark corridors and decaying grandeur reflect her inner torment. The novel's themes of unrequited love, obsession, and betrayal add to its haunting quality. And lastly, for a more traditional ghost story, look no further than Dickens' short tale, The Signalman from 1866. The story takes us to a lonely railway cutting, a remote and eerie setting that is perfect for a Gothic tale. The protagonist, a signalman, tells the narrator that he is haunted by a mysterious spectre. Each time the ghost appears, a terrible accident follows. The signalman is tormented by the apparition, unable to prevent the tragedies it seems to warn of. The story seems to be pure Gothic, as the setting is the railway cutting. It is dark and isolated with a claustrophobic atmosphere. The ghost is a classic Gothic element, as its appearances is accompanied by unsettling events, and there's themes of fate and inevitability. The story explores the signalman's psychological torment as he tries and fails to escape the spectre's warnings. The tale is short but chilling, and it shows Dickens' mastery of Gothic suspense. Now, what makes these works Gothic is also what connects them to A Christmas Carol. In A Christmas Carol, like in Bleak House, we see the decay of the soul, Scrooge's emotional rot, mirroring the physical decay of Chesney Wold or Miss Havisham's world. The haunting spectres in The Signalman and A Christmas Carol both serve as warnings, urging characters to change or face dire consequences. Finally, the theme of isolation runs through all these works. Scrooge's lonely existence mirrors Miss Havisham's self-imposed exile and the signalman's solitude. So, while Dickens may not have written exclusively Gothic stories, his works are undeniably influenced by the genre. He used Gothic tropes to heighten the drama and emotional stakes of his narratives, and created unforgettable tales that are both chilling and deeply human. So, to conclude the question, is Dickens a Gothic author? We could say that he cannot be classified solely as a Gothic author, but his works frequently incorporate Gothic elements that enrich his storytelling. While Dickens is best known for his social realism and commentary on Victorian society, his fascination with the eerie and supernatural is undeniable. In A Christmas Carol, for example, as we've seen, ghostly visitations, the dark atmospheres, and themes of mortality and redemption reflect classic Gothic tropes. Similarly, Great Expectations and Bleak House also feature decaying settings, isolation, and psychologically tormented characters, which are hallmarks of the Gothic tradition. Dickens used these elements not to define his work as purely Gothic, but to heighten emotional depth, suspense, and moral reflection, blending genres in a way that remains uniquely his own. So I hope you enjoyed this quick journey through the Gothic elements in Dickens' writing. Thank you for joining me today, and I would like to know, do you think Dickens deserves a place among the Gothic writers, the Gothic genre? And if yes, which text would you recommend others to read for that? Or do you not agree with what I've said in this video? Then please let me know down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a nice Christmas, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!